exclusively do search engine reputation issues. We use techniques such as reverse SEO. So let me show you some of the types of problems that we work on so that you could be familiar. Probably this is something that you've already come across. So the first thing I want to say, it's a real myth. When I tell people socially what it is that I do, and I have a lot of friends, accountants, lawyers, and the first thing they say, oh, you try to polish things up for scumbags. Remember, lawyers are telling me this, right? And I think that's a real big myth. I think that when you really get into this industry and you look at it closely, you can tell that there's all kinds of people that have reputation problems, like legitimate entrepreneurs and professionals, and well-to-do e-commerce companies. This one here, you probably all heard of, 1-800-Flowers, right? If you type in, and this is a live example right now, if you went to 1-800-Flower reviews, you're going to get all these negative reviews coming up here. You can see it here on Consumer Affairs. They only have one star with unflattering comment. The Yelp is not so good either, just 1.5 star, and it goes on and on. All the way down at the bottom of the page, you have several negative comments. You don't even have to really click on any of this. Just by the comments that you see there, you wouldn't want to do business with this company, one would think. And yet, how many people here know 1-800-Flowers by a show of hands? All right? They're a well-known company, established e-commerce pioneer. They've got a great reputation, seemingly. Their approach to servicing the customer is 100% smile guarantee, no questions asked. If the person you sent it to is not happy, you could get your money back. They won't even ask you to send the flowers back or anything. And I've worked in this industry in the flowers sort of segment. And Pierre had an example as well. The problem in this segment is that you're not just buying the product, you're communicating something. So Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, funerals, if something is slightly off, you've really touched an emotional core, and the product itself is, basically is a perishable. So, these kinds of things do happen legitimately. Companies like this spend millions of dollars in their brand, and something in search could really ruin their reputation. Here's another variation on the problem. So you have here JP Morgan. The first result is the company. The second one is the careers sort of subdomain for the company. And I think that that's normal. They have a few thousand employees that were working for them at the time this came out. But for a few weeks, the third search result would be a reminder of why you wouldn't want to join this company or work with this company in any fashion. And actually, it has even nothing to do with them. It's with Bernie Madoff. They're sort of like a byproduct of this whole thing, so that lawyers found the link and whatnot. But again, this could be something that could happen to any company. The news doesn't even have to be about them. Just any mention of the brand, and the search engine will pick it up and include it in what we call today universal search. Right. Another sort of problem that we deal with doesn't even have to do with something that's on the SERP. It has to do with when you're typing the company and you're not even finished. Some people call this Google autocomplete, other people call it Google autosuggest. So here the person, you haven't even finished writing direct buy, and it gives you direct buy as the completion, but he also has several other types of suggestions, including logging, scam, and reviews, which may, obviously bring attention to those options, and the user might click on them. So, we know that the search reputation problem is large. It affects large companies like 1-800-Flowers, but it also affects smaller companies. In fact, I would say that smaller companies get affected more by this, local companies. You see the statistic here. Pierre's talked about it. 93% of companies, or people, always, frequently, or occasionally make a decision based on something that they've seen on Yelp. And when they're not Yelping, they're Googling. That's 84%. And this is a statistic that comes from 2013. Now, in the last couple of years, what we've seen since this study came out, Google has been rather unfavorable to Yelp's website, right? We've seen that. Google sort of bumping Yelp down. They want to get into this space, and they will get into this space. So that makes whatever appears in Google's front page or search result page very, very important. And so if you look at the SERP and you break it down, here's a breakdown based on click-through ratios. Not even visual, but there's a sort of close parallel between those two things. I see a lot of people here from the agency side of the business who will be very familiar with this. So the first result gets 31% of all the clicks. And if you go down to results 6 through 10, combined, in aggregate, they get 3.73%. So there's roughly 30-time difference in clicks between the last results on the first page and the very first result. And this doesn't surprise me. I don't think it surprises anyone in the room. And I think that this is only getting higher, this ratio, because of cell phones, basically, right? If you look at cell phones, the visibility is just the first result. On a laptop might be 3 results, on a desktop might be 5 results. Since we're all converging towards smaller and smaller devices, the first result and the first page is going to get a bigger and bigger part of the lion's share, if you will. And if you look at the second page, in aggregate, it's just below 4 percentage points. So there's a huge drop-off, about a 10-point drop-off from the first page to the second page. There's 10 times less likelihood for people to see negative reviews on the second page than there is on the first page. So quite naturally, if you look at most of the problems that we deal with, one of the main strategies is suppression, right? So what we do is we push down some of the negative comments. And how do we do this? Well, I'm not going to talk a lot about the negative aspects of this because I know Dwight's going to talk about that. But most of the time what we're doing is we're using something called reverse SEO, not negative SEO. So reverse SEO, the techniques, the core techniques is pretty much everything we do in SEO with additional assets. So we develop and incorporate social media pages and different user-generated content sites. We've identified just over 300 of them, and we cherry pick based on this situation. Some are good for companies, some are good for professionals. We integrate, at least to some extent, the reviewing of the service into social media platforms and the customer service. Now we could do this manually. There's companies that will do this for you. There's also software that Pierre talked about, it was also discussed in the previous session. We could also create microsites as part of these assets with customized URL that sort of matches what it is that we're trying to vary. So, in the case of the 1-800-Flowers reviews, it could be literally 1-800-flowersreviews.com and so on and so forth. I also advise people that when they're doing this, you might as well buy, the brand name with something like scam or fraud or anything like that, just to sort of protect yourself. We also create a lot of unique content, and we're going to talk more about this in a minute, for the new assets that we've created, amplify the reach of the content through paid and unpaid methods, and generally apply SEO techniques to all of these assets. So we develop a steady pace of backlinking, and you have to really watch backlinking. I was shocked this afternoon when I heard in one of the sessions how many people have been penalized by Google over the years. About 3/4 of the hands in the room went up. I mean, the session was about how to get out of the penalty box, but still, to me, it's a little shocking of just how many people go for too much too soon. I think that pace is a very big part of the algorithm. Google can simply pick that out with a delta in the algorithm, and it's there, so watch it. And always creating fresh content for the main site as well as for the asset sites is important, as well as user signals. I haven't heard once yet in the whole conference somebody talk about user signals. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Let's start with content. Content in 2015 has evolved a lot. Blogs went to become blog outreach and blog posts now. No more press releases. People, cut deals with newspaper magazines, even if it's local newspapers, seems to work well. Somebody here is talking about working with universities and funding some projects in return for a legitimate link. We've done that in the past. It works great. Even talking like this at a university has done wonders for our website that appears #1 for several of the key terms. Images, now we have infographics that really grab a lot of attention and seem to sort of be shared with a lot of people. There's also new content platforms like Imager and Pinterest and Visually, Flickr, SlideShare does very well, so use it. Video, a lot of times people upload things on YouTube, share a Vimeo and whatnot, but that has evolved as well. What's going around and getting a lot of weight right now is sort of these micro video websites like Instagram and Vine. Quality of the content is very important. Gone are the days where you just keep shoving the keywords in, right, into something that you wrote. Now you got to sort of take advantage of the Hummingbird update that Google had, come up with the different semantic modifiers that Google is looking for, all of the things that people have been discussing in the sessions right now, really. Social content is very important, but you shouldn't sort of basically link that directly to the money site. In this case, all the major assets that seem to be moving in the right direction to overtake the negative stuff. And there's also a lot of opportunities to amplify the content in paid channels. I mean, you could do this through Google AdWords, but a lot of times people forget you could do this through affiliate marketing as well. Affiliate marketing sites tend to rank very high in the SERP. And all you have to do is really tweak with the title and the content to represent what it is that you're competing with on the negative terms to really basically push down the negative search result. So the changes to the Google Auto Suggest, how do we handle this? Yeah, I don't really want to labor this slide too much. My wife says, don't talk about the math, don't talk about math. Americans don't like math. That's what we hear in Canada. Americans don't like math. So basically, the way it works is these sort of suggestions, if you will, they're based on the number of searches that people have done and what they've clicked on and how quickly they've clicked. This is what we refer to as user signals, okay? So now, basically, what Google will do to make it really simple is they will look at this and they will say, all right, what's the highest number of keywords that were searched? What were people clicking on? Look at the quality of those signals and make a sample sort of, make a sampling methodology of seeing how there's any divergence. And when there is divergence, whatever seems to be picking up more popularity and working well, they will include that in the mix. And that will be, obviously, in the detriment of another one of the options. So, we very craftily try to, offer different suggestions in parallel and start eliminating the ones that are negative for the new ones that we have. And so the way you do this, well, I'll get to it right now, is get a lot of people to make the searches and click on the search results. However, you have to realize something, is that not all search signals are treated the same way by Google, okay? Bounce rates, Google looks at bounce rates, it looks at time spent, it looks at search refinements, it looks at if the user was logged versus not logged. All of these things are taken into consideration. And so when we started doing this, we first were using private sort of proxy networks, which is easy to detect by Google. Many of our peers, I believe, use a lot of this Amazon Mechanical Turk or Microworkers, which is really easy to monitor. And we now know, anyone who's in this field knows that Google has people that monitor these websites. So if you're trying to purchase stuff, it's not really going to work. So, you know, we consider that we're sort of like at the cutting edge of this. We've developed our own mobile tool, and we have a closed circuit of people that we work with, and you know, we pay them to go through exact instructions that we have, and it's not for anyone to see. So we basically validate the people in that network. So it's an offline network in a sense, over mobile. That's a quick solution that we found. Now,
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you localize that?
Yeah, you can. You can, but the thing is, you have to sort of validate the people that are joining. So it becomes difficult. If it's a small city, the chances of us getting to know somebody in that city is really low, you know? So as our tool grows, I think that we'll be able to do that much more effectively, but we're at the sort of beginning of that. And so the key takeaways, I think, if you don't have a reputation problem and you're working in a business, or you're an agency consulting a business, I think is to, you know, own your brand. Own your brand on social media. Make sure you have all your vanity URLs set up. Make sure you have proper content developed and curate the content. And if you do have reputation issues, I would say to choose a partner carefully. What I mean by that is make sure they have the proper SEO credentials, and make sure, and this is very important, that the type of volume and regionality that they've dealt with, and I can see that question coming, it's a really good question, is appropriate to what it is that you're trying to execute. You know, so I would say the other thing is discretion is like by far the most important thing. Every time you work on trying to push something down, if somebody else knows, I mean, you can develop what we would call a counterparty, meaning someone who has a vested interest in trying to push the same thing you're trying to push down up. So can't be naive about that. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And I'll leave the rest for the Q&A.